Good evening. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please. Pledge of Allegiance. I'm getting ahead of myself. Ready? Begin. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Kushat,
Here.
Commissioner Pahana,
Here.
Vice Chair Kier,
Here.
Chair Walker,
Here.
all present.
Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website, www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city's website and clicking on meeting agenda link. Public comments. This is time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on the printed agenda. All comments are be directed to the chair of the commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. There's a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slip and give it to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length any items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of that agenda item. Do we have any public comments for non-agenda items? Are those for agenda items or? Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll do Douglas Walters first.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Doug Walters. I live at 5344 Daisy Avenue. I live over by the cemetery. And as you know, this week we got just pounded by the storm. And unfortunately what has happened is a lot of the runoff has gone down into the easements. And unfortunately there are people that have built gates and things that stop the travel of that water. And unfortunately, 95% of the water that was going down the easement came into our property, damaging our property, damaging our home, causing our home to flood, where the water, I could not get water out of my property faster than it was coming in. We had gates that we had opened. There's a water mark where the debris came up, approximately 16 inches above the where the current dirt level is. And the dirt, right now I've got about 30 cubic yards of dirt in my backyard. We had a guy come in today and kind of get it back down to grade so it doesn't flood. We understand we have more flooding coming. My question to you, and we've talked to code enforcement and they've been out with us and we greatly appreciate you coming out. What are the plans that are being made so that the water that is going to be going down the easements continue going down the easements and not being stopped by chicken coops, by trampolines, by pallets of cement that you can't even get a utility truck in that easement because there's a bunch of stuff. And unfortunately, when that flooded, all that chicken manure is now in my property, around my property, and my property reeks. And now we have to, unfortunately, my floors were damaged and we're gonna have to pull up the floors. And now when we turn on the AC in the evening, I smell like a chicken coop. And so I don't know what plans you guys are making to help with this, what codes are being enforced to keep that from happening. It's just, I'm looking for your help. Oh, in between our fence and where our neighbors built their fence is only 18 inches. And there's barely enough room for us to walk on. They built their fence on my property that I'm paying taxes on. And I can't enjoy another, 10 2.5 feet, 3 feet, that I can't gain access to because their gate, their wall, their fence prohibits me from accessing my property. And so, please help. Thank you.
And we have another one for just general public comment, but there is no name. Yeah, go ahead, come on. If it's for not a specific item on the agenda, right?
Well, actually, I wanted, it is a specific agenda.
If it's for a specific agenda, then we're gonna ask we wait till then.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, sorry. Closing public comment. I don't think I opened it officially either. This break's screwing me up. So, let's move on to commissioner comments and reports of meetings attended. We'll start with Alex.
I haven't attended any meetings.
Jim?
I've attended no meetings since our last meeting in May.
Leslie?
I also haven't attended any meetings since our last, but I do want to make a comment that it's devastating what happened to some families and personal experience, and it's just something that I know, there's only so many vendors and so much we could do all at once, and the city's utilizing the equipment they have to do the best that they can. And, I just want to say, I understand how awful it is, and I'm sorry that we have to go through this.
Jessica?
I did not attend any meetings since our last, but I did go to a store opening in the historical plaza and checked out a little bit more what's going on there. And it's just nice to see more things happening in that plaza.
I haven't been to any official meetings, but I did go to the city's 4th of July celebration. That was a good time. And I've also been helping out with Theater 29 with their summer youth program for the kids, helping them for the play that is being put on next weekend, starting Thursday. So if you have the opportunity, I would really suggest coming out to watch because it's going to be a good time. Consent calendar. Has everybody had a chance to read the meeting minutes from May 21st?
Yes. I have a question. If I wasn't there, do I abstain? Okay.
I vote that we, or I motion that we vote, accept the minutes as read.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana,
Aye.
Chair Walker,
Aye.
approved.
We don't have any items removed from the consent calendar. Moving on to, let me get to where we're going, to our, to the development code update for Article 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the latest in a long series of development code updates and changes that we've been recommending here for the last year or so. And this pertains to site development regulations, in particular, three particular items: lighting standards, noise standards, and trash enclosures. The main difference in the lighting standards is we are taking out foot candles as a measurement and turning those into watts. The main reason for that is any sort of light measuring equipment goes off of watts, and it's very difficult to measure foot candles in any sort of modern equipment. So we can't measure foot candles, so we're changing it to watts. And we have some discussion there about light trespass and height limits on light poles and that sort of thing. A quick notation: we do have a correction to make. There was some references in there that remained in there that to lumens. Our intention is to eliminate any reference to lumens and replace it with wattage. So that's going to be a modified recommendation that we have. Noise control, again, it's consistency in language in the development code. We have we found out that as we're going through the code in detail, there was some discussion on noise standards, but there wasn't a corresponding table that referenced that, so we're trying to modify the table to be referencing the text. And trash enclosures, we're adding some requirements. This is also pertaining to state law updates to have covered trash enclosures. That's a safety thing. And we're recommending some distance between building streets and residentially zoned properties. And of course, there's always, if for whatever reason you have a constrained property, we can work through a variance procedure if that needs to occur. With the discussion, with the modified recommendation we have, we're recommending that the commission find this development code amendment exempt from CEQA and to adopt the resolution and for the recommendation to city council. And we do have code enforcement here in case we have questions on how this is going to be enforced.
Do we have any questions for staff from anybody up here?
I do, yes. Page 13 in the, I'm not sure how you have it, but when you print the agenda packet, so that word lumen, it will be as wattage?
Yeah.
And low watt is like something that you could measure?
I mean, we can put a specific wattage in there if you want, but yes.
Okay.
So like 40 and below.
So, yeah, we can put in 40 and below, because that's what we've placed
That's on the
on
table.
our, for outdoor lighting. Anything that's below 40 doesn't have to be shielded, so we can add that in there.
In regards to decorative lighting?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like strands in your backyard, the
Strands
little
in the
bulbs?
backyard. Some people have the little pole things in their
Mhm.
landscaping area
Yeah.
for pathways and whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Any more questions for staff?
No, I'd just like to comment that I appreciate the work that staff has done. Anytime that we can simplify our codes and regulations and remove all ambiguity, it's greatly appreciated. So I compliment you guys on the work that's been done. Thank you.
I have one question about no longer having the extensions on the light.
Yeah, for some reason it was originally in there for somewhere like over a year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's lighting. It shouldn't take a year to install lighting.
So what's the timeline that the person has to fix it once they get a code enforcement letter?
So
Right.
these extensions, these are, if you're doing modifications to your property, you should, I guess opinion, but you should be able to modify your lights at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we've taken out the extensions, because if you're going to be doing any improvements to your structure or expanding your parking, you should be able to modify your lighting at that same time.
So it's not, if you're not doing any improvements, then you wouldn't get a code violation for the light.
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying.
If we don't have any more questions or discussions, we'll open up public comment. We have 2 requests for public comment. Brenda?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the critical but often overlooked issue, which is light pollution. Now, the agenda item, section 2 of the agenda item, uses the words common sense, and as we know, a lot of people don't have common sense. And as our world becomes increasingly illuminated by artificial light, it's essential to understand how this affects humans, animals, and the environment, which is very, very critical, especially in our fragile ecosystem. And a lot of this information we've heard before, so I appreciate you bringing this issue up to date. So the effects on humans. Firstly, by the way, I'm a resident of 29 Palms, and I've been here, and ever since I've been here for over 5 years, and since I've been here, I've seen more and more lights going up. And I'm disabled, so I appreciate the night sky because it gives me a sense of calmness, and it doesn't affect my vision. So when I look out and I see a lot of artificial lighting, it really affects my health. So the lack of natural darkness prevents our bodies from winding down, leading to prolonged wakefulness and restlessness, particularly in urban areas where the night never truly falls. And unfortunately, it's happening more and more here in 29 Palms. The effect on animals. The effect of light pollution extends beyond humans to the animal kingdom. Many animals rely on natural light cues for their daily and seasonal activities. Artificial light disrupts these biological rhythms, affecting feeding, mating, migration, and other essential behaviors. Even other animals are heavily impacted. Many insects are attracted to artificial lights, leading to high mortality rates due to exhaustion or predation. Light pollution effects on the environment. Light pollution affects natural effects on the environment. It disrupts entire ecosystems by altering their behavior. I'm gonna block and read up here because I can't down here. And plants which rely on natural light cycles of photosynthesis and growth can experience altered growth patterns, reproductive issues due to artificial lighting. The role of CEQA. This brings us to the importance of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I didn't catch your name, not
Brenda Calvia.
but the other lady. Yeah, good.
Hi, my name is Ronnie Tyner, and I live on Old Dale Road. The issues that you guys are, sorry, I'm not a very good speaker. The issues that you guys are talking about right now, I'm kind of having a hard time because it kind of clumped into one, like light and noise. And I agree with the trash thing for sure, but there's some areas of the noise, the light. I'm concerned about the grandfathering in of lights. Is that correct? I'm not quite sure, but I think it's a grandfathering of some lights that were already there. I don't agree with that because it's not like we're asking them to tear down a building or anything. It's actually a very simple thing to replace your lights with standard lights. I do it all the time. I've done it here. And I also don't agree with removing the light fixture images. This helps people look and see, well, if that's a light that's up to code. And I was kind of concerned. I'm not sure if I read it right, but it says governments are not need to do it voluntarily. And I don't agree with that. They're not going to volunteer nothing. Businesses and governments don't change unless they're forced. I hate to say it, but, and just like to say this, CEQA, I really support CEQA. I don't like to go against the environmental laws. And then the noise pollution, I have a real big problem with noise pollution. We have people with modified cars driving around, just and this is not just one time, but constantly. Boom boxes, amplified music from festivals. I mean, that stuff really, really affects me and my family, and just, it affects a lot of people, actually. So, and one last thing I'd like to, I had spoken with code enforcement about a particular light out there, and they're saying that that light is up to code, and I know it's not. So we really need enforcement of this, and not telling, when people contact code enforcement, that they're not like, I don't know, gaslighted, lit, or being told that, I see the light, it's blasting all over the place, and to tell me that that's like, commercial and businesses should not be exempt from our light, anything actually. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sure you guys heard that. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay.
I'll bring a slip in for Katrina. Hello, for the record, Susan Peplow. I'm just gonna, good evening. Sorry, I'm in a rush. I have 2 houses on Chia south of Buena Vista, so it's fun times ahead. Okay, page 12. I'm just gonna make note, this has to do with, this is on the agenda, page 12, under lighting standards. I do notice and highlighted the thing about expanded, which I just heard Diane kind of explain a little bit. I would like to note that there are properties in Indian Cove with new builds, finals, like in the last 3 years, that have non-compliant light structure or lighting standards. So if we're stamping finals for new builds, that maybe is something to put on the punch list to look at as far as being shielded or opaque lighting. All right, page 14, because there's a lot to cover. Page 14 on the agenda. This is really where I think Keith was trying to boil down watts. I have a concern about watts because watts has changed. So 40 watts incandescent is like a refrigerator light bulb. But watts, it's been dynamic. So 40 watts, if you just leave that blanket like that, if it's an LED, is like a 150 incandescent watt bulb. So I think that's going to be confusing to people, just saying watts. And 40 watts in particular, if you're talking about architectural lighting, I think that's supposed to be 4 watts. Like 4 watts would be like what your Malibu lighting would be, like the little baby bulbs, not 40. 40's like a refrigerator bulb. So I think there's some confusion there and possibly inaccuracies in this draft. And I also feel that it's important actually to keep the foot candles. If you don't like the idea of the 2-foot candles because you think it might be confusing to people, I'm finding wattage confusing. Go buy a light bulb sometime and try to cross-reference that to like incandescent versus LED for like what's comparable. Where architectural lighting, if it's 2-foot candles, if you know what a foot candle is, makes sense. So if you want to change it up, maybe exclude wattage and say what you mean, which is 2-foot radius. That's what 2-foot candles is. It could be 2 lumens, but if you're trying to get away from that verbiage, spell it out for people. Architectural lighting up to a pathway, 2-foot candles or must be shielded. So I just think the verbiage on that is going to lead to some further confusion. Also on page 15, where it was talking about item B, where it took out the illustration. I'm with another community member. It's just a graphic this big in the code. I don't know why we need to take the photos away from people. Oh, please bear with me. I meant to do it in public comment. It really, because you're squeezing 2 things together because
I got it, but we can only go 3 minutes. We gotta be fair to everybody.
Did you know, as I walk away, that a bird, the dB level of a bird is 44 decibels. So residential lighting or residential noise at 45 dB means the birds are not in compliance. I'll get you a copy. Thanks, Matt.
Do we have any other public comments? Okay, I'm gonna close public comment. Do we have any more discussion from up here?
Was watts just something that is like more now, like layman language that would be easier, or is the interpretation of this code that we would like to be read is the radius?
Because there is a big difference in a LED watts and a regular light bulb watts, right? The brightness of those two are different.
I guess the question is
I
why
can't
did we
answer that
change from
question.
lumens to watts? And what was the
But I
criteria
can
for?
only tell you that nobody knows how to measure in foot candles. So we can't, if we have a lighting violation and we're supposed to measure in foot candles, we can't do that.
Could it be a measurement of feet?
So if you're,
Of it-
when you buy a
no.
bulb and it says 40 watts, it doesn't say 2 foot candles.
So it can go,
So-
it could be 40 watts, but what if it's like, extends like 6 feet? That's fine, as long as the wattage is met.
Even, I mean,
The-
in the language, it shows the
The
measurement.
lower the
with
wattage, the
yard.
wattage is, because those, if it's under 40 watts, those do not have to be shielded. You can have a brighter bulb, but it has to be shielded and there can be no light trespass.
So even if you had 40 watts and there was light trespass, you would still need to shield it,
If you have light trespass, you have a violation.
Yeah.
regardless of the wattage.
Correct, that's correct.
And there's a measurement on there in the notes of how to measure from the other person's property to make sure you're not trespassing into their property. And that's the measurement that comes with the yardstick.
Correct.
So we're defining watt as brightness, and we're defining the measurements as the trespass. Okay. And we measure the watt by taking the bulb out and looking at it.
Yes.
Ultimately, the trespass is what supersedes, because if your light is shining in someone's property.
That's correct. If you have light trespass, whether it's 40 watts or 4 watts, it's a violation.
No, I realize that it's gonna be difficult. You've gotta choose something that can be measured and something that can be looked at. And if we can't measure foot candles, then we've gotta find another way. And wattage, I think, is a good enough thing. The only thing I would offer to the gallery is that if you feel there's a noise violation or light violation, yeah, you should pursue that with the city. And if you have a difference with what code enforcement says, there's an avenue for you to correct that too. But I think moving forward on these regulations and ordinances is the way to go. Thank you.
I personally have never used foot candle in anything. When I look for any kind of bulbage, it's in watts, and I have never tried to measure light, but I do understand light trespassing and how bad it can get. I feel as if having it simplified to watts and actually having enforcement on the trespassing beneficial. So I think once we start splitting into LEDs and lumens and all these different things, we start making it much more complicated than it needs to be. But yeah.
Do we have any more discussion up here? Any questions? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we find the amendment exempt from CEQA and adopt the resolution for forwarding this recommendation to the city council for approval.
With a change of watts.
Pardon? I'm sorry, with modified text, yes, thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cure,
Aye.
Chair Walker,
Aye.
approved.
Moving on to discussion and potential action items. Nothing. Community Development Director updates.
I just want to give kudos to our public works staff who's been working ever since the surprise monsoon downpour hit us. It's a pretty thankless job that they have to get out there almost 24/7 and scrape the roads, get those cleared out for public safety. So I just want to put that out there.
I get asked quite a bit about the car wash going up there across the highway from
On Oasis Avenue?
Yeah.
So that one, they are in the midst of processing permits, their encroachment permits through Caltrans.
Okay.
So that's the step of the process that they're in.
Got it.
So they can't move too much farther along until they get that encroachment permit.
Got it. No study sessions today? All right, then we're going to adjourn the meeting.